Hello, beautiful artist. In one of my last videos, a few of you caught this little painting I did. It kind of looks like celery, I think, or maybe cilantro, and asked me about it. So I'm going to go ahead and recreate this for you so you can watch me paint it. Some of the supplies I'm using are my Princeton flat shader. So I will link that for you. I'll go back and find the link that I purchased mine from. It's the Velvetouch, of course. And you know I love the short handle, so I'll link that for you. And the paper I'm using is my favorite little Artisto pad. And as you can see, these are all old paintings I did in these little pads that I just love. I refer back to. I find color palettes, so really great reference. I'm hearing a lot of you are doing that now. They're not 100% cotton, but you know what, you guys, for the price, I honestly, you couldn't tell. These are so great. They are perforated if you did want to give them away as a gift, your painting. And they've got really a lovely texture and they're affordable. I think they're perfect for the student and I still use them. I'm going to be playing with my MeiLiang palette, my Paul Rubens. This is the larger one. You really don't have to have this 48 set. It does have the metallics though, which I think are really fun. And let's see, I've got my 2 wells of water, my beautiful little ceramic Meeden well that I love. And I think that's it. So let's get started. Again, I'm using my flat shader. They're saying it's a size 8. So I'll find that for you. And I'm going to pick up my green. I'm just going to use as you see, I have some in my palette here already. I'm going to use my sap green. Use whatever green you like. I'm always kind of drawn to sap green for whatever reason. I actually really, really love the MeiLang palette tree green though. It's a beautiful bright green. So there we go. I've got that on my palette and let's go ahead and start. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to be kind of wiggling my brush back and forth. And this is very similar to how I showed you how to paint carnations as far as that little ruffled edge. So let's go ahead and get started. What I will do is start with kind of a medium value, and then as you can see here, I've got light values, darker values, medium values. So little tip for you as a beginner, this always helped me and I still do it. Maybe create a swatch, not that. Let's see, let me find a swatch sheet here. Find a swatch and go in with your paints and start with your darkest value. So there we go. And I'll tell you why in a reason. And then create a medium value. And then go in and create your lightest value. And why this is helpful is you'll kind of get an idea of what those 3 values look like. And then you can make sure and add all of them into your painting. So the darkest is going to be the one that really pops out in front. So these 2 kind of push out in front. Creates a lot of depth. The medium values are some of these and they're maybe mid-ground. And then I also created some very light values as you see here, and they're kind of tucked behind. Gives such a beautiful feeling of depth. It's not just flat. And that's one of the things I always notice in beginners is if you use all the same value, then the page looks flat. The painting looks flat. So practice a couple different values, and then when you go into your final piece, just make sure that you have all those values. And if they're all dark, it might be a little bit harder to lighten up, or you could add some light ones in. If you have all light colored, just go in and darken them up with a little bit darker value, meaning more paint versus water. Okay, so let me get a little bit more in my palette here. And I'm actually, let's see, you could go dark to light really, but typically in watercolors you go light to dark. So let's start with I want to do this one dark though. Let's start with our little piece right here. So I'm using the side of my brush. So I'm not using it flat. I'm kind of working with the edge or the tip. So I'm holding my brush to the side and I'm just going to kind of wiggle, but I'm making sure this end point comes back in. So it's almost like a fan. And then I'll do it again here. And I'm leaving white space for the center there. Here's another. And it's kind of funny because when one of you asked me about this and you referred to it as cilantro, and maybe that's what I referred to it as, I don't know if that's exactly what I had in mind when I painted this. I think I was looking at some grass and these were like those little clovers. So it was kind of funny that she referred to them as cilantro because they do look like cilantro. And then what you can do is while that's wet, I can actually go in and just tap in and get a little bit of that spread. And this brush is really great. You can get a nice fine line for the stem. So there we go. And look how beautiful that is because I went wet into wet there. So let's just recreate that again. I'm going to pick up, oops, not my olive green, which is the darker green. I want to pick up that tree green because I just love that color. And let's maybe do another one right here. So I'm just going to do that wiggle, but making sure that you're leaving some white spaces in here so it's a lot more interesting. And then you're pointing back to the center. See the white space in there? Okay. And do one more over here. You could even tap in there with some different colors of green if you want to make it really interesting. And then I'm going to do that stem there. So I think this stem I'll do coming down here like that. All right, and make sure and vary your sizes of your leaves here too. So let's go ahead and go in here. Actually, let's let that dry. Let's do another one right here. And I have rinsed off some of my paint. So I've dipped it in my water and then just tapped it off on the side of my well. And let's go in. So see that lighter value there? So now I'm working a little bit in that mid value. Making sure again to leave some white space for interest. And I made it also a little bit smaller. And then our little stem. You can tap in there if you want to add some blending just for interest like that. And I'm going to rinse my brush one more time and I just kind of scraped it lightly off on the side of my water well here. And let's create maybe one really light value here in the back. So I'm tucking it behind this one. And now see what that does? That really puts it behind, not only because I placed it behind, but because of that lighter value as well. Let's do a couple more darker ones. And maybe I'll even use a little bit of that olive green, which is a little bit darker green than sap green. And I'm going to go really dark with this one so that you can see how much it pops it out in front. And I'm going to make it bigger because if it's in front, it's going to be a little bit bigger. So using the side of my brush, resting my hand, and just working back towards the center, like so. Okay. And our little stem. So that one looks like it's really out front here. Now I'm just rinsing my brush, gonna scrape it lightly on my well here, and let's make a few more. Making this one a little bit bigger. And while it's wet, I'm gonna tap in there with a little bit darker green. There we go. And then create that nice thin stem. So let's just keep going here. You could even add in, I think in my original painting I had a little cad yellow, so maybe I'll add a little bit of cad yellow. I'm going to go in here and do a fairly light one, or that's probably about a mid value. And go in with that stem. Maybe add tiny bits of variety of colors, and maybe here's where I'll pick up some of that cad yellow and add that into some of these, just for some interest. Look how pretty that is. Okay, I'm going to wash and rinse my brush, go into my paints again, and we're just going to keep going here. I think I'll do, I'm paying attention to composition. So I've got a dark one over here, a dark one here, fairly dark one here. So we just want to make sure we've got a mid-level one there, a lighter one here, mid-level, meaning I'm talking about the values. This is a very light value. So just make sure you're giving some flow. So you don't want all your dark ones to be on this side, all your light ones this side. You want your eye to come in here. Here's a dark value. There's another one. Maybe here, maybe up there. So you're guiding the eye around with these colors. So I'm going to do another one right here. And then I think what I'm going to do, because these are all facing over the stems, meaning they're all guiding the eye that way, I think this one I want to bring the viewer's eye back into the painting. So I'm going to just let that stem do that. So we're kind of going this way, and now this one kind of brings it back in. So we're not just leading them out of the painting. We want to keep them engaged, keep them moving around our painting. Now let's go in for a couple light ones and tuck them into the background. Now this is going to be a really light one, and I don't want to tap into that if I can help it, because it's going to spread. And then just bring that stem down. So let's keep going, do a few more here. I feel like we could go for a medium one right here, so let's go ahead and do that. And just making sure you're leaving that white space. Oop, that was a little bit too much water, so I'm just going to scrape off my brush and pick a little bit of that up. There we go. And we've got our stem coming out. So I feel like we need some more really light ones in the background. Let's add one in the background here. Careful not to. There we go. And we've got our stem. And just keep adding those in. Let's do a light one here, and we'll tuck it behind this stem. So this one's really light, so I'm going into my lightest value. I don't want to touch that stem because it could be just a little bit wet, and grab that. So there we go. See how that just faded right into the background very nicely. We'll do one down here, which I'll do kind of a mid value. And let's face this one this way. And there we go. So it's really just about playing with all of these different sizes, different shapes, tucking them in. Maybe one really large one here. I'm just wiggling that brush. But you can really see here, and I think I'll even bring that one in front of this one. So let's make it a little darker value. But you see how much fun you can really have playing with the values. And then let's create that little stem. There we go. So if you do start with your lighter ones, that's one thing you can build darker and darker, which is kind of the typical way with watercolors. Let's see, where do we need another one? Maybe have one over here, or let's do one right here, very light value. I want a light value here. So it really looks like it's in the background. There we go. So I'm just tucking them in here and there. This one's really light, but so interesting, isn't it? Isn't it fun to play with? Maybe do one more up here, bringing the viewer's eye kind of into the painting. So there we go. That is basically how I did those. Might just tap in. Now you might use, you know, some more yellows in here would be really fun. I only put yellow there. You may want to add more yellows here and there. And just have fun with it. So there you go. I hope that kind of gave you an idea how I do those. I feel like I want to add one big one up here. So hold on just a minute. Let's get that one in. Like one, don't want it actually in the middle of the paper. But it's kind of turning out that way, isn't it? That's okay. I'm going to go in with a tiny bit of dark olive green on my brush. I really do like this little angle shader by Princeton. It does pretty well. And then I'm going to bring this down. And there we go. See how that really popped out? You could just keep going on and on with those, by the way. You could do another one here that I think I'll actually angle inwards because these are kind of angling out. So let's just make a little one right here and have that bring our viewer's eye facing back into the painting. So it's drawing them back into the painting. There you go. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. I hope that looked fun for you, and I will find a link to that little brush, the Princeton Velvetouch Angle Shader. They even have on here ombre plot. Not sure what that means, but I will link that for you. I will link my MeiLiang palette, and of course these wonderful little Artisto pads, and have fun with this. All right, everybody, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.